Type R. The two words every Honda enthusiast dreams about, besides Spoon and Mugen, of course. After waiting for this moment for what seems like an eternity, I was finally given the opportunity to drive an authentic DC2 Integra Type R, commonly considered the holy grail of front-wheel drive Hondas. About 3,800 of these lightweight track specials were sold in the US under the Acura brand, and Steven's Nighthawk Black Pearl example is nearly bone stock with just Coney yellow shocks, Volk wheels, and sticky Toyo R1R tires. This truly is the car I've been dying to experience for the better part of 3 years. After the DC2R was discontinued in 2001, only Japan received the subsequent DC5 generation Type R, while the US was given only the base and Type S models under the name rsx. Sego, the owner of this 2003 Type S, purchased the car with most of the JDM Type R parts swapped on, and further modified the car to replicate the performance and handling of the Type R as closely as possible. So there's really only one thing left to do: drive these Honda legends back to back and see how they stack up.
What's up guys, welcome to another video. This is Steven here, and this is his 2001 Acura Integra Type R. And this is of course the DC2 generation. Being an 01, it's the last model year of this generation in the US. For the most part, this one is completely stock, isn't it? Tell me kind of what you've done to it.
Everything's on it is stock now. The Coney yellows I hear are pretty close to stock, so yeah. But that's it. I get groceries with it. I take my dogs around.
Nice. That explains all the dog hair in the back.
Yeah, that's why there's dog hair in the back. Yeah, so it's my daily mountain car.
That is awesome. Props to you for actually keeping it stock, first of all.
Thanks, man.
And second of all, daily driving it.
Yeah, take it up, man. Up there. It wants to go. And the brakes you'll find are really, really quick. Yes.
There it is.
There, you can kind of just grip it and rip it.
The corner exit traction and the overall just balance going into the corner and exiting corners is really something else. I've never felt a front wheel drive car that handles like that before. The biggest compliment I can give it right now is that it doesn't feel like a front wheel drive car. So light on its feet. Yeah. That's incredible. Wow. I'm not even using the full range of the VTEC right now.
Oh, you're mostly not even in VTEC.
Yeah, but I'm just feeling the overall balance of the chassis right now. Just really enjoying it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I love these roads.
I have to say, this is everything it was hyped up to be and then some.
Awesome, dude.
I've been so hyped to drive one of these, like I said, for like over 2 years, and that is fun. You just like, just flick it around. This car, you just freaking mash it. You just mash it, and the LSD just does its job. The tires look up. Granted, you are running the Toyo R1Rs, right? Okay.
Yeah, the 200 treadways.
Okay. Type R really is not. It's not a joke, you know. It's not Type Rice. It does feel like a race car for the street. But that being said, it's still, the suspension's still pretty compliant. I know you said you swapped it out for Coney yellows.
I wish that the seats held me in a bit better.
Yeah,
because I'm flopping around.
I like the side bolstering, but like on your thigh, there's like no bolstering.
There's nothing on the thigh, yeah. You're basically just using your knees, trying to like keep yourself in the seat.
God, this looks so different. It's incredible.
Thanks, man.
Another thing that makes me actually pretty sad is the fact that the Integra name dropped off. I mean, in Japan, continued on in the DC5, which is known as the rsx in the US. But the fact that the name no longer exists in the current Acura lineup, I think is a huge shame, because the name just carries so much heritage with it. And it's actually like a word, like an actual name. Whereas like TLX, you know, RDX, all of those are just letters. I really hope that Acura brings it back someday.
That'd be awesome.
But of course, they have to make a car that's worthy of the name, which is a whole completely different story. I'm not sure if they have it in them to even do that at this point. Oh man. The relationship between my right foot and the RPMs is like, it feels like 1 to 1. There's like no slack in it whatsoever. So on that note, thank you so much, Steven, for letting me drive your Integra Type R. Dream come true, honestly. This is a fantastic car.
Thanks, man.
The DC5 is going to have a lot to live up to.
I'm excited to see your comparison.
Yeah, I'm excited to experience it. Alright guys, so we are back with Sego here. He's been on the channel a few times now. Too many times maybe, with the eBay S2000 and his RSX way back when. It is about as close to a DC5 Type R that you can actually get. I mean, this is a USDM Type S. It's an 03, right?
Yep, 03.
But it has like 90% maybe of the actual JDM Type R parts. So run me through the list.
So I have, let's start with Type R headlights.
Just Type R headlights.
Type R header, Type R suspension, Type R front control arms, Type R front sway bar, Type R Brembos, Type R intake manifold. I have a 4.7 final gear ratio, which is Type R Torsen LSD, but it's not Type R, it's an M factory.
It's probably close enough.
Yeah.
And you have the Type R red badges,
yeah.
plus 5 horsepower each.
Type R wheels.
Type R wheels, yes, that's a big one. The DC5R came with the K20A motor, right?
Yep.
And that was rated at like what, 220 horsepower?
220, and this is rated at 200. But
200.
I'm hoping that with all the mods in the tune, it kind of like evens it out.
Right. There's so much more torque in the K series. The V18C, you really got to rev the snot out of it to get any kind of performance out of it. But immediately as well, the car feels, dare I say, like even better damped than the DC2R, which is something I praised about that car. But this car just feels like it has even better compliance.
But my tires are not up to
garbage.
par. Yeah.
All right, let's push it a little bit. Well, on the straightaways, there's a big difference right away. This car pulls so much harder. There's a delay from when I turn the steering wheel to when the car actually turns in.
Yeah.
In the DC2R, there's 0 delay. Yeah, the steering just doesn't give me nearly as much confidence. I love this motor though. Wow.
I like it more than my S2000 motor we're driving around.
Because you have the torque, but you also have the revability.
Yeah. I mean, they both have the same red line, I think, right now.
And you've tuned both,
yeah.
too. K-Series is definitely a notch above the F-Series.
It has the I VTEC.
Yeah. Torque steer. Still got torque steer.
Yep.
The LSD, I feel it working for sure, but you still have to fight the wheel a little bit. Understeer. All these tires are garbage.
These tires suck, I'm sorry.
motor though.
It's fun.
I think I can pretty clearly articulate what the difference is between the DC2 and the DC5. DC2 is all about the chassis. I mean, the engine, of course, is like special, at least it was for its time. Nowadays, I think the engine feels pretty dated because it's so gutless down low, and once you hit VTEC at 6,000, only then do you really get usable performance, but even then, it's just kind of okay. Makes a great sound though, but this car is all about the engine and less so about the chassis. The chassis is still good for a front-wheel drive car, I would say. This car weighs like, what, maybe 2,800 pounds?
Yeah.
And at that weight, it still feels relatively nimble, up to about 8/10. Once you get to like 9/10,
Yeah.
I really do feel a difference now between double wishbones and McPherson's. It's just, when you really load up the front tires in this car, you just don't get that same sense of stability or traction. Whereas in the DC2, all four tires just maintain a really good suspension geometry, even when you're turning hard.
Yeah, so this car has a lot of problems when you lower it even a little bit.
Okay.
So I think that's a McPherson strut thing.
Got it. But yeah, this motor blows the B18C out of the water. It really does. For roads like this, I would argue that it's more important to have good mid-range torque. Whereas as a track car, I think that's where that car shines because you're constantly in that 6 to 8,500 RPM range. So you never really feel the lack of torque because you're never in those lower RPMs.
I mean, with better tires, it might drive a bit different.
Yeah. I think with 200 treadwear tires, it would really help you a lot. But I don't know, like the overall balance of the car doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
Just the way that it turns in, that's the biggest difference. All right, let's rip it. Oh yeah, I can already feel it, and I'm not even pushing it as hard as I was.
I know.
I have to take it a little easy here.
I've retired it from track duty.
Oh, come on. Turn. Turn.
I told you it sucks. I was very disappointed on the downhill.
Oh no. I can't even push it past like 60%.
The tires, man.
No.
They have full tread.
They have full tread. No heat cycles. I'd be really curious to revisit this car once it has proper tires on it, because I don't want to talk too much smack about this car but then find out it was just because of the tires.
I just think this car was set up way more mild, and the difference is, I guess the DC2, they had like a normal Integra first,
right,
and then came out with the Type R a couple of years later.
Yeah.
But this was just the Type R to begin with, so I guess there was less like R&D.
Oh, was this the Type R to begin with?
Yeah, so when the RSX and stuff all came out, the Type R just came out with it.
Oh, interesting. Did not know that.
But the DC2, there was like a gap, I guess.
Yeah, they had time to refine it more.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one I would rather have. I think with a better set of tires, this car would still be maybe like 80 to 90% as fun as the DC2R.
Yeah.
But you get so much more of the creature comforts. I mean, the AC blows so much colder, for example. And like the steering has a little bit less kickback. It feels a little bit less connected to the road, yes, but at the same time, it's just easier to use. Unless you're going for a full-out track car, honestly, I think the DC5 still has a lot of advantages over the DC2. Thank you again, Sego, for letting me drive your DC5, not eBay DC5. It's actually a pretty legit
yes.
Type R conversion. The DC2R and the DC5R are actually very different cars, more so than I expected. There's just such a big difference in the way they drive. The DC2 is all about the chassis, the cornering speeds, and the way the car just turns in and responds so directly to your inputs. The DC5, you definitely sacrifice some of that response, but gain a lot of power and gain a lot of refinement. So it kind of depends on how far on the scale you want to go. Do you want to go full chassis and handling, or do you want to actually have a somewhat livable daily driver? If I'm going to get a hardcore track car, I'd rather have rear-wheel drive. That's, I mean, completely personal preference. As a daily driver, I think this is a really, really
That's why
fun.
I kept it.
Yeah, really fun, really practical. It's a Honda, it's reliable, good gas mileage.
Yeah.
So
the mileage is pretty close between our cars. He's at like 130,000 and I'm at like 140,000.
Okay, and both cars still feel so fresh. It just goes to show that Hondas really do age well. I hope you guys enjoyed watching that, as my front camera here is dead. Please subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys next time.
Bye.